Hi, this is a recap of 2021, my 2021. The footage you'll see was mostly filmed within 1.5 months, but I'll talk about my entire year. And although this is a pretty serious video, don't stress, I always sound this depressed when I talk. And I never lost my sense of humor. Enjoy! On June 14th, I started my journey from the southernmost point of continental Finland to the northernmost, nearly 1900 kilometers, on foot, all alone, as a 19-year-old, just to get from one pile of rocks to another. My prior tent sleeping experiences could be counted with arms instead of fingers, and I had no cooking equipment, no assistant driving by my side, no thick clothing except for rain gear, no secondary pair of shoes, no Spotify Premium to listen to, no real backup plan, no intentions to stop. I just went and walked, lived in the moment, didn't think about it too much, and had fun. What was the greatest part of starting my walk? Honestly, the way I felt about myself. I was like a superhero on a mission. I was free and still tame enough. I was proving everyone I'm worthy of calling myself self-driven. The Self-Driven Ideology is the book I released in January. Writing it was more difficult than walking the walk, especially towards the end, because it was meant to be finished by December 2020. It took me 2 extra months until I was happy with the result. During the final weeks of writing the book, I probably spent something like 12 to 14 hours a day working on it. It looked so awful. And my life looked even worse. I just sat and stared at my laptop, slept only when my body literally shut off, did the bare minimum when it came to schoolwork, even though the most important exams of my life were just 2 months or so away. The book was basically the only thing I focused on. I like to say I was mentally drunk because I was having the time of my life, even though the life I was living was collapsing around me. And even though it doesn't always seem like it, I have a lot of fire in me. It pushes me towards my goals and sometimes stupidity. In the case of the book, I think it did both. But what happened afterwards, and why on earth would I go from writing to walking across an entire nation? The main word on my mind is escaping. I wanted to escape the life I normally have, do things out of my comfort zone whilst inspiring others and making my own life seem a bit more important. I felt the need to do all that, especially because of what happened after I had released the book. My life was already in pieces, but it was immediately time to start preparing for my exams. As per usual, I aimed for perfection and hardly had any time left. I barely even knew what taking a derivative meant, but I was ready to show everyone how well I could do in such a short span of time. The exams were a month and a half away. My schedule wasn't flexible at all, but I still somehow succeeded in sleeping less than I had planned. I didn't do many calculations or solve problems. I felt like absorbing information was the best tactic. So I basically just watched educational videos on YouTube, and my way to prepare was definitely just as unorthodox as these weird video clips right here. These are in chronological order, by the way. Anyway, I was motivated, but my engine didn't run for long. One thing in particular kept me preoccupied, my loneliness. Sure, I was trapped by having such a late start to my exam preparations, and I hadn't exercised much in weeks, nor rested well in months, so my life was already a mess. But the main source of misery was honestly the fact that I had no one to talk to. That's how it felt, at least. Because schools were in lockdown mode, there were quite literally no social interactions in my life. I don't know why it felt so bad. Excluding the added influence of the pandemic, I had been used to being lonely and liking it for years. Either way, focusing on the task at hand felt more and more difficult by the day. I thought about the things I've missed out on, the places where I felt like a complete stranger. Combining that with the image of potentially failing my exams thanks to spending too much time with the book, I felt quite meaningless. I needed something, or someone. By the end of February, I was definitely burnt out. I needed to stop, lie down, and take proper care of myself. But I couldn't. The exams were coming. Eventually, I did well. My grades weren't high enough to get me where I wanted, but in terms of the mental space I had been in, I passed my expectations. Maybe my preparation wasn't so bad after all, and it just felt horrible. I'm not sure. Whatever the case, I was falling apart in many ways, which had never happened before, and still graduated with some decent grades. When the exams were done with, I finally tried to cool down. I felt slightly better, but still shaken up. I had time to breathe and think about my weird situation. It was my chance to live more like a human being, talk with people, cook food, and get back to a regular workout routine. And doesn't that sound quite pleasant and normal? Yes, it does, which obviously meant I was bored. So I came up with little activities to do. One of them was to plan my walk across Finland. It was just a fun little idea, but one thing about me is, if I say I'll do something, it has to be done. I won't let myself stop, give up, or do anything without care and focus. So, with a refreshed mind and an able body, I eventually started walking. I needed to break free. Just like I did at this point in my walk, let's pause for a second and ask a question. What have I done after my little journey? Well, firstly, it didn't take long until I started preparing for another round of exams. I felt way better, although still not perfect. At least there was no burnout, and I managed to raise all but one of my grades to the level I wanted. We celebrated my graduation in August, the cakes were healthy and it was fun. Then I drove to Germany in October. It would have been cool to travel with someone else, but being alone was really cool as well. It was a slightly faster way to escape. And that's it. I haven't done much, so let's get back to walking. Cue the music. Here's something else I've spent a lot of brain power thinking about. I don't feel at home anywhere. Just looking at this year alone, I did many things which I don't necessarily want to be remembered for. I don't want to be the one who writes bad books, is good at school, takes overcomplicated walks, or releases depressing videos with strange effects. These things just happen to happen. They make me happy, but they're not what I am, or at least, not what I want to be. I don't know enough about anything to say, this is my mission. I know enough to give you an endless list of things I want to do, but they don't follow any pattern. They follow my free will, which sometimes makes me seem more crazy than I think I truly am. I love living as freely as I do, yet I hate it at the same time. It's a battle between doing what feels correct to me and what others think looks respectable. As long as I find enough people whom I can spend my time with without having to worry about this, I'll be okay. As of right now, I'm far from it. I've distanced myself from many norms, and sometimes it feels like too many. I don't want to blend in with the masses, but if I keep appearing as crazy as I currently do, I'll never get to settle down. I'd built my legacy around things which I'm trying to disassociate from. If that happens, it would get even harder to find real friends, as the first impression I'd give wouldn't match the true identity within me. I'd only meet people who appreciate me for things which I don't really care for. To avoid this, I need to find a way to mix my insanity with a bit more stability. That's deep, but how about my walk? How did it feel? It was great medicine. I was in control again, my mind had something fun to think about, my body lasted well. The fire in me was allowed to burn freely. It got enough fuel to carry me to the finish line. And actually, it was the most social I've been since leaving basketball last year. I may have walked alone, but people sent me messages and talked with me face to face, which made me extra happy. The amount of support I received was incredible, no matter how small it might have seemed to someone else, and I'm thankful for it. Mistakes were made and I looked like a complete idiot in many ways, but life felt so perfect yet so unsettling. I got what I needed. A couple of weeks ago, I chose to try sleeping properly for the rest of the year, from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. That test was soon over. In order to make this video, my sleeping hours were cut. I was so motivated and excited, just like I was when I wrote my mediocre book, just like I was when I walked my walk, just like I was when I did X, Y, and Z. Trying to reach these goals of mine means I won't always sleep well. I won't say it saddens me much, because it hardly does. Moreover, sleeping poorly is usually a sign of me being in my zone. It gives me the feeling of doing something bigger than myself. I miss the feeling of not being like this. I want to settle down, physically and mentally. I want to sleep more and better. I love just laying in my bed and browsing through my phone. I love not having to take naps. I even love seeing weird dreams. But, for the most part, I love staying awake even more. At some point, I'll stop this, but as of right now, I need more than sleep.